My name is Jenny, and I am a Christian. I believe in kingdom living. I believe in kingdom lifestyle. I just believe in kingdom everything, anything Christ-centered kingdom like mine. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about how this came about and why I'm so passionate about immigration and whatnot. All right, so let's get into it. So I was born in Guatemala, and I came to the United States when I was 9 months old. I came to Miami, Florida at 9 months old, and my grandma, for the most part, was the one that raised me. Now, during my 23 years experience of being an immigrant, I got 4 orders of deportation. First one when I was 2, second one when I think it was between 7 and 9. I don't really recall that one to my age, just because of life events that were happening during that time. And then I got another one when I was 17 years old, getting ready to turn 18. I was in my senior year in high school. That one also led for me to get disqualified for an engineering scholarship that I had earned. Now, the laws at that time were different. I know right now the laws with immigration and schooling and stuff, they're a little bit more helpful. So during that time, I was disqualified. And then I got my last order of deportation when I was 21, almost turning 22 years old. And that was the last one that I got. My experience as an immigrant, I won't say that it was horrible. I won't say that it was just very long. It was very, definitely, there was a lot of challenges for me. As I mentioned, losing a scholarship, not mentioning to my peers, my friends and families that, I shouldn't say family, my friends, that I was an immigrant. Majority of my friends thought that I was Cuban. And so I do want to talk about that because if you know me and you've met me in person, I will say I'm Cuban. Okay, I will say that. And it's not because I'm ashamed of my background. It's not because I am ashamed of Guatemala or anything like that. There's a reason behind it. So coming to the United States at 9 months old and being brought to, out of all places, Miami, Florida, it was filled with Caribbean influence, right? So I was raised around Cuban community. I was raised around Jamaican communities, Haitian, Trinidadians, and whatnot, right? But I didn't fit into any of those, right? I only fit into the Hispanic one, which was the Cuban influence. If you go to Orlando, Florida, it's filled with Puerto Ricans, right? So if you are from Miami, Florida, then we call Orlando mini Puerto Rico. Anyways, and so I was surrounded by that and adapting the cultures, having friends who were Cuban, and then, as I mentioned, Caribbean influence. And then on top of that, my dad having a body shop in the middle of Hialeah. If you are familiar with Miami, once again, Hialeah is highly known for its Cuban influence. I mean, every single business building, the first language spoken there is Spanish. Don't you dare go there trying to speak English because you're going to offend people. Give me 1 second. So anyways, with that, I was raised around that. And so I learned how to cook, speak, talk, walk in that influence. And it's what I'm mostly known for, known my whole life. And so it wasn't until I turned 35 years old that I went to Guatemala for my very first time. And I met family from my mom's side for the very first time. That I realized, oh snap, this is my culture. This is exactly where I came from. And I have been trying to embrace it ever since. But of course, I'm doing this as an adult, not saying that I'm not trying to, but it's just easier for me to identify myself as a Cuban. But I am, in fact, Guatemalan. I was born in Guatemala, and I love it after I went to go visit there. Anyways, what led to this? So in 2021, I was invited to go do a conference for a woman speaking conference. And it was basically exhortation. It was basically to encourage other women regarding using my testimony and everything that has happened. Now, if you don't know, then the reason why I was invited is because I'm a CEO for a company. I have a business. I do financial coaching. and I also am in real estate. So there's quite a few things that I guess they felt like, okay, she can influence, especially the younger community and some of the women that were there. So I went as an invitation. I got invited and I began to speak. Now, before the conference happened, I asked God to please to just direct me as to what exactly was that He wanted me to talk about. And He said to talk about my immigration process. So I did. And I began to speak on the immigration stuff. Now, this conference was in Arizona. I'm not going to say the name, and I don't want to say who it was or anything because I don't want to dishonor anyone. I am, as I mentioned, I'm a Christian and I believe in the word that says, do not touch the anointing. So I'm not calling this person unanointed or anything like that. I just want to make that clear. So I got invited to the conference and I went and I began to speak on my testimony of immigration. At the very end of it, because it was based on immigration and it was in Arizona, and there is a huge immigration problem here in Arizona right now, mainly because of the open borders and everything that's been coming in. So as I mentioned this, I can see a lot of women's faces, just like some of them were lit up and others were horrified. It was so weird to be in that atmosphere, because for the very first 30-40 minutes of my testimony, I was getting all kinds of praises and stuff, and I can just see the face of people engaging. But then the last probably 20 minutes, when Holy Spirit took over and just the things that were coming out of my mouth, I can see the faces of some of these women just like distort. And I don't know what was going through their mind. I never asked them. Not because I didn't try, but because after that event, I lost 10 people about 10 people that just stopped talking to me cold turkey, didn't give me a reason why. I tried reaching out to some of them and it was just like, done. We're done with her after this. So what did I mention that was so controversial, right? So I'm actually going to tell you. So I was talking about blessings and curses, right? And this is something that is like, if you talk about blessings and curses, it's probably right around the line of politics, okay, or religion. Okay? So anyways, so with that being said, I brought up Deuteronomy 28. So if you're familiar with Deuteronomy 28, if you're not, I will encourage you to go read that, please, and get back to me. I want to know what you have to say about it. So Deuteronomy 28 is about blessings for being obedient and then the curses for not being obedient. So Deuteronomy 28, 43 says the sojourner. The sojourner is the foreigner, the alien, the immigrant, the homeless. Okay, and I want to say this real quick about homelessness, because God showed me this and taught me this, and I mentioned this in the conference. So one of the things that God showed me about homelessness is homelessness for us, and especially in the United States, we think that homelessness is people that don't have homes and they're living outside in the streets. Well, what are immigrants? Okay, these are people that are leaving their homes behind and they're coming to the United States because they're seeking a better living. And I'm not going to say all of them. Okay, so as an immigrant, I'm going to say that first thing. I'm not going to say all of them, but the majority, the ones that come with a vision and a goal, is to live the American dream. So with that being said, that they are also considered homeless. So the sojourner who is among you shall rise higher and higher above you, and you shall come down lower and lower. He shall be the head and you shall be the tail. I'm sorry. So that's important. He shall be the head and you shall be the tail. And these curses shall come upon you and pursue you and overtake you till you are destroyed, because you did not obey the voice of the Lord your God to keep his commandments and his statutes, and as he commanded you. So what is this saying? First of all, I'm not trying to spew curses on anyone. I am talking about the Bible. So if you have an issue with that verse, I would suggest for you to go read that verse. Go read that entire chapter in its entirety so that you can get a better grasp of it and why Holy Spirit drew me to that. So the reason why I brought that out is because As I mentioned, immigration is a huge problem right now in the United States. Why is immigration a huge problem? Well, for one, for starters, it's always been a problem in the political realm. If you really think about it, you really sit down and think about it. No one in either side of the political realms wants immigration reformation. Why? Because if they can fix the issue with immigration, then they will no longer have this dangling carrot over people that they use every single time they're getting ready to campaign. One party, and I'm not going to say who because this is both parties that have an issue with this. One party is always going to dangle on the Latin American community that they can do better, that they allow everyone and everyone should be coming in, and they sell them a dream. But then when they become president, when they become whatever, they don't do absolutely nothing about it. The other party will always sit there and say, we have to get them out. There was an issue. There's a lot of crime that has raised because of that. And because of this particular thing, people go, they get drawn to that because, of course, we want safe communities, right? Both parties. Everybody wants safe communities, right? So anyways, so with that being in mind, they go and they vote for this particular person. When that person goes and becomes president, there's not a lot that they do. Now, you're going to come in here and you're going to tell me, hey, Jenny, but on one side, this guy let everybody in, and now we are having crime issues, which I can agree with. And then on the other side, you're going to tell me, well, when President number 45 came in and he did the wall that was racist and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't think it was. Okay, so I'm going to speak from a very unbiased perspective because as an immigrant, I want to make it very clear to everyone that I stand with no one. Okay, with that being said, I don't think that having a wall there is racism. Okay, I think that people that believe this, and excuse me for saying this, you're a little too sensitive, and maybe we need to look into why you're feeling this way. Okay, is it because the social media and media is telling you to do this? The news stations is telling you to feel this way, or is it because you have an actual thing to back up the fact that that is racist? I don't think it's racist because of the rise of human trafficking. Okay, I just read an article 2 days ago that on May 26, 174 immigrants were caught on their way to the U.S. border from Mexico. They were caught by Mexican federales. 174 immigrants. From there, 29 unaccompanied children were there. Now, it doesn't say whether they were male, female, or what amount was male, what amount was female, but 29 unaccompanied children. The thing that right now the people are not talking about is the fact that there's 85,000 missing children, immigrants. Okay, so I don't think that the wall is racist because if it prevents just one precious child from being sex trafficked, then that's priceless. Okay, that's just how I see the border situation. I think that we do need to have stricter laws in that particular area because of the human trafficking issue that we're having. On the other hand, do I believe that every immigrant that comes here is coming here with a second agenda? No. I know that there are people that are literally risking their lives. As I mentioned, 174, 29 unaccompanied children. From there, I believe there were 30 or 40 women alone. And then 40 or 50 men. I can't remember the count. Whatever adds up to 174. And from there, there's people there that are coming here with the intentions of trying to live a better life. Because whether you like it or not, America is still this razzle-dazzle thing to third world countries. Okay, America is still the land of the free. It might not be free for the Americans here, but it's still the land of the free for people in other countries. I know in Africa, it is a big influence. You have people that are wearing the same type of brands that are U.S. brands here because they want to be like us. You have people in the U.K. doing the same thing. You have it all over the world. And I think for the most part, we forget that the world doesn't revolve around the United States. Again, this is my unbiased opinion and what led to this thing. So my heart goes out for the ones that are trying to come here and live the right life. And I think that we need to take the real legal terms to do this. I don't think that you should be risking your life unless God has told you specifically to do it. But I don't think that people should be risking their lives to come here illegally. I think that it should be done in the right way. And as far as people that are against them from coming here, I think that you also need to look into your heart and really consider why you are feeling this way. And so one of the majority of the arguments that I get from people is that the reason why they don't want immigrants here is because of crime and because of them taking their jobs away from them. And so I do want to say this. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but in Florida, there was a law that just passed. And by the way, I want to say this first of all, for all the Floridians, that law is not brand new. It's always been there. The only thing that your governor did is that he reinforced it. So he didn't make up a new law. This was a reinforcing law. Okay. And it was to stop and prevent people from hiring illegals, because it is illegal and undocumented. Let me use the word undocumented because I don't really like the word illegal. Not because it's offensive or anything like that. It's just because in the law terms, it's not the right word. Okay. All right. And they prevent people from hiring undocumented people. As I mentioned, that is illegal. And then they also are trying to prevent more crime in there. But again, this is a whole other area that I'm not going to get into, and nor am I saying I agree or disagree. It's just, it is what it is. It is a reinforcement law. And so with all of these things happening in Florida, now labor has slowed down for farms, for big manufacturers to hire them. I'm not going to mention the name of the manufacturer because I don't want them to come after me, at least not yet. Okay. But there is a huge manufacturer, which, by the way, does a lot of yogurts, a lot of probiotic drinks, lots of bread. They're just a huge manufacturer company that they have a contract with INS, with immigration, where what they do is that they hire these undocumented people. They bring them in to work for about a month. They help them, provide them with a place to stay. Now, it's not the fanciest place, is a trailer home. Of course, these people still have to pay rent. These people still have to pay lights. They still have bills, right? But the purpose of why they do this is because of cheap labor. And so by hiring these people, they're paying them way less. And a month or 2 months later, after these people have become comfortable, they turn around, they tell INS, okay, go pick up these bunch of people. They remove them, they deport them back, and then they bring in another set of immigrants to come do the same exact thing. It's a recycling center of immigrants. Okay. It's on a documentary. Go watch it. Again, I am not here to say what company is doing that, but this is really what's happening right now out there. So with that being said, the majority of the jobs that some of these undocumented immigrants are doing are not jobs that we want to do, if I'm being honest. I don't want to be in a field. I don't want to work in a hot factory. I don't, especially with the educational background that I have and with my upbringing. And the one thing that I forgot to mention, and I want to say because I want to make it very clear, and as far as I said, my testimony, I did come to the United States when I was 9 months old, and I'm very, very grateful for my parents bringing me over here. How did I come here? I came in through the airport. Okay. And then now you're going to have people that are going to say, probably the reason why you're saying that is because you didn't have to risk your life and you didn't live in those moments, in those environments that immigrants had to live in. I didn't, but I did have to deal with the immigration process here in the United States. And that's why God has asked me to do this specifically for the United States. And as I came here in a visa, and it took long. It took 23 years for me to get my green card because of the type of asylum that they had come in. Not only did it take 23 years because of that, but because in the process of trying to get our papers, my parents and I, there was no other siblings that were born over there. It was just me. In the process of trying to do all of that, unfortunately, there was quite a few lawyers that took advantage of us, which is another thing that drove me into doing this. Right now, I am handling a case. Let me say this, I am not a lawyer. I am in school to be an immigration lawyer, but I am not a lawyer. Not yet. I am not a lawyer yet. I will soon be one, and I will make sure that as soon as that happens, I will let the world know that I am now an immigrant lawyer. But with that being said, I do have knowledge, not just because of my legal studies, but also because of my particular case and some people that I have helped, that I have advised. Okay. With that being said, there is a case right now that I was helping this person with, and they have been in the United States for 35 years. And this person is extremely upset and frustrated. They have the right to be frustrated. I remember at 23rd year of being here, I was frustrated myself because of the lengthy process, and I needed documents to work, but then I had to wait 2-3 years to get my documents so that I can work. I needed a driver's license so that I can go to work, right? So that I can purchase a vehicle. But then I needed to wait 6 months for my fingerprinting for the INS, for immigration, to give me permission to then grant me a work permit, to then grant me this driver's license, this temporary driver's license, by the way, because immigrants don't get 10 years driver's license as most Americans do. We get temporary a year. Every year we have to go to the DMV and present our papers. Now, again, speaking from someone that was doing that at some point. And so he's frustrated because this attorney has charged him a total of $20,000. Now, as someone who is going to school to be an attorney, this is not me bashing on attorneys for their pricing. I understand that you are paying for their experience and their skills, and I will not dishonor that. However, how do you want undocumented immigrants to have some form of legality by paying these absurd prices and not expect them to work under the table so that they can afford their papers, right? There's like this huge oblivious cloud over Americans that think that they come here and they're making $60,000, $70,000, $40,000 immediately. That's not the case. And so what's happening is you're forcing, because I don't care whether you're an immigrant or not, but when someone is hungry and they have no means of doing it, there's 2 ways they're going to do it. Either work under the table for a company that's going to pay them cash and it's not going to report them, or there's going to be some crime involved. Okay? Crime. All right? And so you have a rise of crime happening because of that as well. Anyways, let me go back to my topic, my original topic. And so $20,000, with that, my process was the same way. The lawyer, we had 2 attorneys that stole around $20,000. And now I say stealing, and I'm going to say stealing, and I'm going to tell you why. Because when you pay the attorney to do a particular job, and this attorney turns around and assists immigration to actually, in fact, give you deportation because of their lack of work and information and study that they did not do on your file, as an attorney, that is stealing. Okay? You should have done the job. You should have had some integrity to do it, and you should have done it the right way. I understand that when you're an attorney, the majority of your job is numbers. You want to get so many people to come in and pay you for your skill. But the problem is that you have all these attorneys that have 15, 20, 35, 40 paralegals doing the job for them. These people didn't go to school for that. They know the law, and they probably know it better than these attorneys. And so then you have these attorneys that go to I'm getting upset. You have these attorneys that are going to these judges, and they get in front of the judge. They don't know what to say, and then the next thing you know, in less than 5 minutes, that person is getting deported. And I say this with experience again. I remember when I was 21 years old, and my attorney at the time, which I ended up having to dismiss because of this particular situation. And let me tell you, it was the grace of God that helped me. Okay, the grace of God. So I went in front of the judge. And I remember telling the judge, before going in front of the judge, there was a line, right? We had to all go into this courtroom. There was like 4 or 5 people that were in front of us, all immigrants as well, getting in front of the judge. I was asking them, do they need a translator? And 9 times out of 10, they would say yes, they needed a translator. This translator would come in, they would translate whatever the judge had to say, and then it was done deal. Their verdict was done in less than 2 minutes for each person. Okay, so I was in this court for about 10 minutes, I would say. And so I have a young boy in front of me. He's about 16, 17 years old. And this was in Atlanta. And my case was brought to Atlanta because I had tried to transfer it to North Carolina during that time. I was trying to find a way to make the process faster. Okay, that's basically what I was doing. So my case was transferred to Atlanta. And I am the next person in line. And this young boy comes up and the judge asked him, hey, do you need a translator? The boy says yes. State your age. He was, I think, 16 or 17 years old. My memory can't recall. And then the judge said, okay, can you please, to the translator, translate this to him? What have you done to try to stay here in the United States? All the boy said was, I have attempted to finish school. Okay. He has a backpack on him, by the way. And it was a school day because courts happen during work school hours, right? They're just like doctor's offices. So I have attempted to finish my schooling, and I am also trying to work, but because of my status, I'm having a hard time finding a job, and I've been trying to hire an attorney. He didn't have an attorney with him, but I can't afford one. Do you know what the judge did? Thank you so much for this, but your time is up. Please place a bracelet on him. I'm going to give you 30 days, and you have to go back to where you're from. Deportation. Didn't even give him a chance, right? And all I can think of was, number one, why is a minor there? Now, per the United States, right? Minors are not supposed to be in a company. They're not supposed to go without a person that is 18 years or over. But this person was. Why was the laws disregarded for him, right? Think about it. Why? Because he was undocumented. And it was so sad to me. And so now I'm nervous and I'm the next person in line. And the judge proceeds to ask me, and I had my attorney. He introduces himself. And then I go up, and then the judge says, well, I want to talk to her, right? And so at that point, the judge tells me, do you need a translator? And I said, no, I don't, very confidently. No, I don't need an attorney. And then the judge said, okay, what is your case and what have you been doing for it? I said, well, I hired an attorney. I've been learning about my case, and I've transferred over here so that I can try to get this done because I want to get this completed. And then the next question was, what are you going to do if I was to grant you this right now? And I was like, well, I would run to go get my driver's license. That was the last thing I said. And he just laughed and he was like, okay, I'm going to postpone your case. Postponed. Okay. He could have granted it to me at that point. He's like, I'm going to postpone your case for another 3 to 4 months. Please look at this cashier, whatever registration, or the secretary that was there, and make sure that it's scheduled for another 3 months. This is my experience with immigration. So it's very frustrating when I see people that think that it's a quick process and it's a very inexpensive process. It's not. There's a lot of lack of support. There's a lot of lack of knowledge in both sides of the party, because I think that as immigrants, when they come here, they don't know where to turn to. And while you might think, oh yeah, but they get resources, they get money, they get XYZ to make it happen. That's not the case. What happens is that they make sure that they're living, breathing, eating, and then they push them out. That's pretty much what happens. And right now, what's happening is that they put them on buses and then they take them to different cities, right? And so once they get off this bus, that's it. They've washed their hands with it, right? And so that's why we have 85,000 missing children right now, right? Because nobody thought about, hey, we need to keep these children here that don't have their parents here and see. And of course, you're going to say, well, we can't throw them into the foster system because the foster system is already full as it is. You're right. You're not wrong. And I'm not disagreeing with anyone on that. I just think that it's very frustrating as an immigrant to think that these things are going to get fixed by politics. It's not. It's going to take citizens. It's going to take Americans. It's going to take the support of even immigrants to try to make this better, to try to make this into a community. And so why did I bring Deuteronomy 28 into all of this? And as I mentioned, I lost 10 people that day for bringing that up, because I think that right now there's a lot of people that are looking into politics to try to fix America. And I think that the reason why we're in this mess right now that we are in the first place, we have inflation, and I'm not going to blame it on one person, the president. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm going to blame every single American for not teaching the generations, for pointing fingers more than hearing and teaching. And I'm including myself in this. I'm going to blame the Americans for not obeying Christ-like rules and guidelines and commandments on how to love your neighbor. And that can go into many different fields, and I'm not going to talk about that. I want to just solely stick to the immigrants right now. And so when I brought Deuteronomy 28 up, it wasn't in form of judgment. I'm judging you. I'm judging myself in the process of it too. We have taken God out of so many things that we continue to sweep under the rug issues that are just growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we sit there and complain and nag about it because we want the next person to solve the issue. And that's not the case. So what led to this is frustration. What led to this was God. I am tired personally of seeing this issue go around and people expecting for it to fix itself, or people expecting for it to just go away. It's not. It's here to stay. And it's a bigger issue now because not only do we have wars happening in other countries, and we have these people that are coming with trauma and real mental problems. I'm not calling them crazy or anything like that, but I think anyone that experiences war, that experiences bombs in front of them, there's real issues that happen to you. There's life-altering changes. And then on the other side, we have people that are risking their lives, that are paying coyotes to come here, not knowing the crisis, the struggle that it's going to take for them just to make it illegally to the United States, how much of their life they're risking, not knowing what's on the other side of the border, that it's not going to be the life of the rich and famous for everyone, that it's not going to be that simple to make the American dream. Is it possible? Yes, but it's not going to be as simple. And my biggest argument right now with people is that when we invite people to come to our house, this is the best analogy that the Holy Spirit gave me, and I'm so grateful to Him for that. When we invite people to our house, we show them the boundaries of where you can go and where you can't go. You give them a tour. This is the bathroom. This is the kitchen. The paper towels are over here. Would you like a cup of water? Would you like something to eat? If it's a birthday party, we close certain doors because we don't want, if it's a children, especially if it's a children's birthday party, I don't want the children going into these rooms. What do? You lock it up, right? What else do? You make sure that things are organized and everything is where people can see it so that no one is asking you for things. But you give them a quick tour. Here's this, here's that, here's that. With that being said, we have immigrants coming right now. Why are we not doing this for them? These are the rules. These are the boundaries. These are the laws of the land. This nation was founded on XYZ. Therefore, I understand that in your country, it is okay to do these things, but over here in the United States, it is not okay to do these things. And that's pretty much what drove my passion. I remember praying and asking God, what do you want me to do? What exactly do you want me to do about this? And then He gave me the vision. And that's when Immigrantes Adelante, or Immigrate Forward, came about. My mission is to not just help the immigrants to attain some sort of documentation, but not take advantage of them and teach them not to be taken advantage. But I also want to educate them on this nation. This nation was founded on Christian values. We may not be there right now, but as a former immigrant, or I guess I'm always going to be an immigrant, right? Because I came here. But as a former person that had to deal with immigration for 23 years, I want them to do better than me. I want them to live up to the American dream, whatever that is, as long as it's legal. But I also want to encourage them that we're not going to tolerate certain cultures and things that are okay in their country here in the United States. And I'll give you an example why I said that. And I mentioned this in one of my previous videos. I had someone that called me to say that their friend was arrested for domestic abuse and then they got deported back. My first thing was good for them, because we don't want bad apples here. We have enough bad apples in the United States. And I personally, as someone that, I am one person, but as someone that, I'm not representing all immigrants, but I represent a group, right? As someone that represents this particular group, I don't want my people to give me a bad name, okay? So I encourage immigrants that if they are in a situation where that other person is doing something that they shouldn't do, report them, get them deported. We don't want them here. We have enough people talking bad about us as it is. Get them out. Have some integrity. Get them out, right? Because if we could wean all these bad apples and all these bad things out, what is it going to leave us with? And then at that point, the culture and the communities will start to change. The one thing I'm trying to prevent from happening is the alienation of certain groups. It's another thing that God spoke to me about. When immigrants come here, where do they typically go to? What type of neighborhoods? And it's not just them. I read somebody, I was in a conference and I heard someone's testimony where they said when Hurricane Katrina happened and it hit these lower socioeconomic neighborhoods so hard, they took these people in, they put them in a bus and they brought them to another city. That city wasn't any better than the city that they were in. And so now they just grew, but they didn't teach them how to get out of it. They didn't provide certain resources. And you're probably going to say, well, all of these resources are free, but how do you know, right? If you don't know how to rebuild an engine, you're going to pay someone, right, to do it for you. You're not going to do these things yourself. And so you don't know what you don't know. And I believe that all of these resources are out there, but you don't know what you don't know. And that's where I come in. I'm trying to teach people how to get things in order with integrity, without the support of the government, and teach others how to do it as well so that they can evolve into this American dream in the right way. But then I also want to bring this to the American people that we need to do better. Human trafficking is here because we are accepting it. Because somewhere out there is Americans that are paying for prostitution, that are paying for pornography, that are paying to go watch these movies that promote pornography. It is up to us to stop it. It's not going to happen by getting people out. It's going to happen by reporting it and start pointing the finger to exactly where they need to be, where it needs to be, and show these people that there's consequences and that we will no longer tolerate this. How do you do that, Jenny? Well, stop watching these movies. Stop supporting these things. Stop it. Stop supporting sex in movies, in shows. Sex sells, right? Stop buying it so that it can no longer be sold. 85,000 children disappeared. Human trafficking has increased. I'm not going to blame one group. I'm going to blame everyone. We need to stop these things. It's gonna be up to us to stop it. So with that being said, I shared a little bit of my testimony. I shared a little bit of what God showed me and why it led to Deuteronomy 28:43. There's been so much disobedience in this nation, and we're reaping right now. This is, again, not to bring pure judgment. There is a light. There's definitely going to be a way that God's going to fix this. But he's looking to us. And so that's where I come in, and I'm trying to do my part. I'm starting classes where I am teaching people in groups on how to fill out forms at a very economical price. That way they can share that information with others. I know that that's not good for business. Trust me. As someone that runs business, you want people to keep coming to you, right? You don't want to keep teaching them so they can teach others. But that's not integrity. And so I want these people to get better. They're my people. Like I said, I belong to that group. And I want to be proud. I am proud. But I want to be proud of saying this out loud without being condemned, that look at what your people are doing. By the way, I don't care if I do say it out loud, and it doesn't bother me what people say. I think when people see me, they didn't expect, they don't, there's a certain group of people that just don't expect, I guess, the lifestyle that I have because of that, because of what I've been through. And maybe in the future I'll share more information about that, but I don't feel being led to right now. And that's it. That's pretty much what led to this. And I hope that if this is you and you want to know more about it, send me an email to info@immigrateforward.com. I do speak Spanish. It is very Cuban though. Send me info to info@inmigrantesadelante.com. That is my Spanish email. I will then send you intake forms, and I don't take everyone in, by the way. I do seek Holy Spirit for that. I don't want to deal with people that are bad apples, as I mentioned earlier. I want people that have the drive to live out a dream that they couldn't in their country. Those are the ones with integrity, of course. Those are the ones that I'm intaking. There is an intake form. There is interviews that I may or may not do. I'm still deciding on that. And then we will be starting classes soon. I will have classes in Spanish and in English. And then in the future, in many other different languages. So I can't wait to show you guys how far this is going to go. And tune in. Bye.